What if I told you there's a formula to help you win anything you desire? This powerful formula was created by Helene Hadsell, who won over 5,000 times in her lifetime. And she won so much that people started accusing her of using witchcraft. But she was not using witchcraft. In fact, she was using what she coined wishcraft. Wishcraft is a term that she used to illustrate the idea that you can bring any conscious wish to life using specific energetic techniques. And if you're like, Steph, what are these energetic techniques? We'll be diving into that in this video. Using this formula, Helene won everything from home appliances to cash prizes to trips to Europe to even winning her dream home, where she beat 1.5 million other applicants, and even designed the layout of the plans of the home and what she wanted it to look like way before she knew that she had won. That's how strong her formula was. She won so much that she actually got her family involved, and they started planning family vacations through winning. They'd decide like, oh, where do we want to go? And then they would enter a contest to win that specific vacation. So who is this magnificent woman? So she was born in 1924 in Dallas, Texas, and began her era of wishcraft in the 1960s after she read the book by Norman Vincent Peale called The Power of Positive Thinking, where she took away two big concepts, which was you can have anything that you desire as long as you know what it is and you can see yourself having it. And it was through these two concepts that she excitedly went to her husband and was like, did you know we can have anything that we want as long as we know what it is and we can see ourselves having it? He's like, all right, then win me this outboard motor. And she was like, all right. She went and did this visualization, and she imagined her husband winning the outboard motor and him enjoying it and what he would feel like, what it would be like. And so she entered that contest based off of those things, and she won. And then it began a domino effect of her replicating that same thing. So what is it that she did? She found that winners follow 3 steps. They set a clear goal. If they know what they want, they can have it. And step 2 is that they never entertain doubts. They fully commit to their goal in mind, body, and spirit. And that step 3, they create a new reality by repeating their goal over and over and over again until it becomes part of their thoughts. In her book, she expands on this idea by creating the formula of SPEC. And so let's dive into what SPEC is. And before I dive into SPEC, I want to share a story of how I actually used her formula to test it out to see, can this work for me? And it was actually at my local running club. We had just finished a 3-mile jog, and they were going to do this raffle. And I was like, well, this is a perfect time to test this formula, see if it works, see if SPEC works. And so I entered the raffle, and I visualized myself winning, and I repeated over and over to myself, I'm so grateful for winning the grand prize. I didn't know what the prizes were, but I knew there would be a grand prize, and I had committed to it being mine. Once they started announcing the prizes, because they had multiple, I don't even remember how many they had, but they had a lot. And so they start calling out names, and it's like this person, that person, and this person. And all of a sudden, as each name got drawn, I'm not gonna lie, doubt wanted to creep in because they hadn't called my name. But if you remember what I said about how she described winners, which is you never entertain doubts. And so I energetically set boundaries of like, nope, not entertaining doubts. And I just kept repeating almost like a mantra, I'm so grateful for winning the grand prize. I'm so grateful for winning the grand prize. And when they got to the very last prize, they took out the ticket and they called my name. And I was like, holy crap, this worked. And I had won a pair of $160 shoes. So the first step of their formula is select it. And so what does that mean? It means to choose what it is that you want and be very specific, because the first step to getting what you want is knowing what it is. Because if you don't know what it is that you want, you're certainly not going to get it. If you're starting out with this formula, I would suggest starting with something small, so that way you can practice the muscle of using these energetic techniques to bring your desires to life. And if you're watching this video, I know you are smart because you're taking the time to learn something new. I would love it if you can drop down in the comments what you're going to decide to select. So type down below. And so in my story, if you remember, even though I did not know what the prizes were, I decided I wanted the grand prize. So I selected it. The second step is project it. So P stands for project. And so with project it, it's essentially projecting your energy into the visualization of what it is that you desire and connecting with what it would feel like to have it, what it would look like, and stepping into that moment of you having that thing and what it would feel like. And so in my story, the example is I visualized myself winning. And so I visualized them calling my name. And one thing I personally like to do with my manifestations is bring it to the present moment by stating, I'm so grateful for. So in my story, you might have noticed that I mentioned, I'm so grateful for winning the grand prize. So I use that as a framework for myself to bring that future moment to the present by saying, I'm grateful for, and then whatever it is that you want. By doing this, you're anchoring it to your current experience. And the third step is expect it. And so in this step, it's really critical to hone in on your energy and living in the end result of having it. And one thing that she states in her book that she really suggests doing meditations or breath work for this step because you want to release all the tension from your body. Because when you have tension, that essentially is a block to you being in a knowing state. Because when you're in a knowing state, you're in a relaxed state because you're like, oh, it's mine. And another thing that she notes is really important to distinguish between desire and knowing. So when you desire something, you're in a state of not having it. Because if you desire something, you don't have it. And it's almost this needy energy because it's like, oh, I want that thing, I want that thing. Versus when you know something is yours, you are self assured. There is no distance between you and that thing because it's already yours. So desire is excited anticipation, whereas knowing is calm reassurance. And that's how you can tell the difference in their energy. And in my story, you'll notice that in this step, that's where the doubt started creeping in, right? Where I had to keep my energy calm and grounded. And that's where I set energetic boundaries to stay in a relaxed state. And so what I use to stay in a relaxed state is by repeating, I'm so grateful for, as a mantra to like keep myself grounded and relaxed and in a knowing state of like, this is coming, this is coming, this is coming. So I almost put myself in a trance to make sure I stayed in a calm state. And the last step is collect it. So when you select it, project it, expect it, and collect it. So collect it is when you get your prize. So that was in my story when they called my name and I went and got my Hoka shoes. It's one thing to, when you read about it or when you learn about a formula like this where it's like you can get anything you desire just using this framework. It sounds crazy, but like don't deny it until you try it. I bought a $24 book, which I will link down below if you're interested in checking it out, to winning a pair of it was $140 or $160 shoes. So that is essentially a 500% ROI, 500% return on my investment by applying what I learned. Because oftentimes people fall into the trap of just learning and consuming, but not applying. And it's kind of like if you watch a video about learning to do a backflip, like you can understand mentally the steps that it takes to do it, but it's not until you actually try that you'll learn the nuances of where you're at to where you need to be and kind of like the tweaks that you need to do to get there. And it's the same thing because this is an energetic practice. It's not until you try it that you'll be able to catch yourself. For example, when you're in a state of excited anticipation, which I feel like a lot of people often fall into. And again, when you're in that state, you're in a state of desire instead of knowing. And I think that's the biggest trap that people fall into, as well as having just tension in their body, which is a reflection of sometimes limiting beliefs, wounds, fears. Now that you watch this video, I double dare you to try it. Again, right below what it is that you want to select, and give it a try. Like, you have nothing to lose. And if you want to start winning more, or you want your friends to start winning more, share this video with them so that they can try it too. And you guys can make it like a fun little game. It's kind of like Helene Hadsell, how she made it into a fun game and got her family involved and they started planning trips together. Like, that is so cool. And when you begin your journey of winning more, you'll find that the big lesson here is love. It's a high level of consciousness that when you're in this energy state, you win more, you manifest more. And so it's also the practice of being in a state of unconditional love and loving everything from the wind, the trees, the rocks, the animals, and even the hardest thing of all, which is other humans. Now the question is, are you ready to start winning? And if so, what will you collect?